Tucson rentals are sitting empty. Here's how to fill yours fast. Days on market for Tucson rentals have risen, and average rents have leveled off in most areas and declined in some. This means thousands of local landlords are actively losing money on empty properties and searching for solutions. I don't want you to be one of them. Here are the 10 steps to get your rental filled quickly. Hi, Steve Schultz here from Blue Fox Properties. Let's get right to number one. So number one is don't overprice the property. Overpricing is the number one reason why properties sit vacant. Price to the current market, not last year's or 2 years or 3 years ago market. So we did have a big run up after the COVID timeframe, and that has definitely settled down, leveled off, and again, in some areas gone down. So you really want to be cognizant of that. Price to the market today, not what it was. So you want to pull recent comps and price below the competition, so all other things being equal, they'll pick your property over the others. All right, number two, don't show the property until it's rent ready. So this is for two reasons. One is most prospective renters don't have the vision to see what the property will look like once the property is rent ready. So if the property needs a lot of repairs, is damaged, maybe the tenant moves up, just moved out, so there's a lot of cleaning that's needed, stuff like that. A lot of people just can't see through that. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is a lot of prospective renters don't believe that the work will be done, or they've been burned before by promises by landlords that said work would be done and never was. So I definitely recommend don't show the property until it's actually rent ready. Before we get to the next step, don't forget to subscribe for more landlord tips like this, and feel free to contact us if you like us to manage your Tucson rental house. So let's continue to number three. Number three is take good listing photos. Now you can do this yourself. It's actually not that hard. You have the equipment probably in your pocket or sitting on your desk right now, right? You have a phone with a great camera, and you actually have the training right in front of you. And the training is simple. Go through and look at some rentals that are currently on the market that have good photos, and then look at how you could imitate those photos, meaning the angle, the view, the different shots, you know, the front yard, the backyard, the rooms, how they're doing that. It's actually pretty simple to do that. And with the power of the cameras these days, having high quality photos, it's really, really easy. Now, if you want to actually hire a photographer to do that, you certainly can. Varies widely on what they charge, you know, but usually around $300, $200, somewhere in that ballpark, you can get a photographer to go out and do professional photos. But you probably don't need that. You know, it's something where you can usually get really good photos just on your own. And the other thing to understand is photo 3 in your listing will not make or break your listing, right? There are other factors, again, pricing being number one, that are going to impact that, you know, and I point that out. Photo number 3, I'll never forget, years ago, there was a client we had, and they said, the reason my property isn't renting is because of the third photo, right? And it was like some photo of, I can't even remember, it was like a bedroom or a bathroom or something like that, and the photo was fine, but they decided the lighting wasn't quite exactly right, or whatever the case was. And so the thing I can tell you is photo 3 will not make or break your listing, so you don't need to stress it in that regard. Photos need to be good, but they don't need to be so polished and so perfect. In fact, you don't want that, and that's what you want to keep in mind. All right, number 4, list on the major platforms at least. So what does that mean? I mean, Zillow for starters, Zillow.com. You may want to list on apartments.com too. They're a distant second as far as traffic goes, but they also own homes.com. So even though you have a rental house, you're thinking, why would I list on apartments.com? That's why, because they also own homes.com. But usually if you even list on one place, Zillow, you're probably 90% there just doing that. So list on the major platforms at least. All right, number 5, respond to inquiries quickly. So Tucson renters are touring multiple properties at once, and if you take too long to respond, that lead is going to be gone. So if they contacted you on Tuesday and you don't get back to them until Friday, they've already moved on, right? So you got to make sure you set up a process to respond quickly and that you do so. All right, number 6, reduce friction in the application process. So what you want to do is you want to offer online applications, accept digital document uploads, and then make sure you don't have a complicated or slow application process, because that's going to cause qualified tenants to move on to the next listing, especially in the current market where they have a lot of different options. So again, you want to reduce that friction in the application process as best you can. Number 7, track your days on market weekly. So if a property hasn't generated serious inquiries within 7 days, something's wrong. And so what I recommend to clients, you know, is there's terms, property condition, and price. And what I mean by terms are things like allowing pets, you know, what's the move-in date, different things like that. Property condition is just what it sounds like, you know, is it good shape? Is it ready to go? Is it showable? I'd mentioned that just a moment ago too. And then price. And so if all things are equal, terms are good, property condition is good, the only lever we have to pull is price. So that's something that you need to be prepared to adjust if the property isn't getting getting any activity. So don't let it sit for more than 2 weeks without making an adjustment. So if it's sitting there for 2 weeks and you've still got no activity on the property, you need to adjust something. Again, if your terms and property condition are right, then that means price. Let's say you don't want to allow pets, but so maybe you want to adjust that, right? But you got to make sure you're making adjustments. Don't let it sit, and adjust quickly. Every week that is vacant is real money lost. And this is one of the things a lot of landlords don't realize is vacancy is really the biggest killer as it relates to a property's profitability. And so you want to keep it occupied. So let's assume you have a $2,000 rental. If it sits for a week, you just lost $500, right? And so that's why it's really critical. All right, number 8, use video walkthroughs. You know, what I recommend is post real unpolished walkthrough videos on YouTube and link it to your listing. And so this is the era of reality TV, right? And the other thing people want is real. Nothing more disappointing than when somebody sees a video or photos that are photoshopped and look perfect and they go to the property and it's not that at all. So you want to give them a very realistic both photos and videos of what the house is. The other advantage to videos is it gives people a spatial understanding of where the rooms are in the house relative to each other, right? So although in photos you can have a photo of a kitchen, of a bathroom, of a bedroom, etc., you don't know where those are all related to each other. Versus a video, if you're actually walking through the house, then they can see, oh, okay, they just walked out of the kitchen, now they're into the living room, and off the living room was the master bedroom or whatever the case may be. So something to keep in mind there. The other thing is video builds trust, again, because it's real. And the other bonus to it is it saves you time on showings. So instead of having to go out to the property to show the property, if they watch a video and now they know all that, and it's important that they want to make sure one of the bedrooms was had an exit to the backyard or whatever, well, they can see that, right? And if it's missing that, then they know, well, I don't need that. So it can save you a lot of time on showings as well. All right, number 9, don't post your rental too far in advance of the availability date. So listings with the move-in date more than a couple weeks out get buried in search results and just lose urgency. And so if your property won't be ready for, let's say, 6 weeks, consider listing it closer to the actual date. You know, what we found historically is usually people only will look about 2 to 3 weeks out, believe it or not. For me, I'm a planner, so I would be planning much further ahead than that, but a lot of people don't look until 2 to 3 weeks out. So if you get too far in front of that, it's just kind of aging your listing. And then the question becomes, well, what's wrong with this house, right? There must be something wrong with it because it's sitting on the market. Well, nothing's wrong with it. It's just the availability date wasn't for 2 months or whatever the case may be, right? So I definitely don't recommend putting it on too far in advance. 2 to 3 weeks is kind of the sweet spot of where I would be as far as a listing being posted versus when it's actually going to be ready. All right, and number 10, the absolute most important thing is retain good tenants before they decide to leave, right? The best and cheapest vacancy is to never have one, right? So the one that doesn't happen at all is the cheapest one. So I'd recommend reaching out at least 90 days before lease expiration, you know, and you may want to consider offering a renewal incentive, such as carpet cleaning, a new appliance, painting a room, something like that. Turnover costs are far more expensive than a small one-time concession. So that's the thing. If you can keep a tenant there, they don't leave, then you don't have a vacancy and you don't have to worry about the other 9 things that we just talked about. So I hope this video helps you. Don't forget to subscribe below, and I'll see you on the next video.